Alright, hi everyone, Materim here again with another Brawler's Bash prep game with my Ogre Kingdoms taking on Michael's Dwarves. Alright, so here is our board. Pretty simple, normal hills, couple of forests around, and then my new Maw Pit piece of terrain, which we haven't gotten a chance to use. Right now we're treating the larger of the spires as impassable, and the smaller of the spires as just blocking terrain. Okay, and then starting with the deployment for the dwarves, on the hill there we have one gyrocopter with Vanguard. We have two cannons, one with the rune of forging, the second one with the rune of forging and the rune of burning. And then up front is a unit of Thunderers. There are 15 Thunderers in that unit. They have great weapons and full command. Then we have a unit of 20 Longbeards with great weapons and full command. Next to that is a unit of 20 Ironbreakers with full command. In them is Belagar Ironhammer, the special character, and his Thane BSB. Next to that is a unit of 20 Hammerers with full command and the Master Rune of Groth One Eye. And I didn't get a good shot of him, but behind the Hammerers is a Rune Lord on the Anvil of Doom with a great weapon and 2 runes of spell breaking. Next to that is a organ gun with no upgrades, a single Master Engineer with a great weapon and the Rune of Stone, and then a second gyrocopter with the Brimstone gun upgrade. Then on the Ogre side, I have a single Saber Tusk, a unit of 6 Lead Belchers with a Bellower, and then a unit of 9 Ogre Bulls with Iron Fist and full command, and with them is my level 4 Slaughtermaster to the lore of the Maw. He has Fencer's Blades, Glittering Scale, and the Greedy Fist. Then I have a unit of 7 Iron Guts. They have a full command, and with them is my Tyrant with the Ogre Blade, Dragon Helm, and Talisman of Preservation, and my Bruiser BSB with the Dragon Hide Banner and the Death Cheater big name. Next to that I have 9 Man-Eaters with Poison Attacks, Swift Stride, and Ogre Pistols. So good shooting, and that has full command in it as well. Then I have another unit of 9 Ogre Bulls with Iron Fists and full command, and with them is my level 2 Firebelly with the Dispel Scroll, Great Weapon, and Potion of Speed. And then up against the building I have one more Saber Tusk. And I can't believe I forgot to get any pictures of movement first turn, but I basically moved everything up about 6 inches along the line. I wanted to get a long charge and wanted to stay out of short range, but only thing I really accomplished this turn was my Man-Eaters opened fire on his Engineer and inflicted a single wound. I think I might have killed one of his Thunderers with my Lead Belchers too, but it really wasn't much of a super important turn. I didn't get any spells off during Magic, but I finally broke my former record and didn't miscast either. So we go into Dwarf turn 1, and he starts off by failing a charge against this Saber Tusk, which I thought was awesome because now I've got the opportunity to sneak by him and get up into the cannons, and I've had really good luck in the past at taking out dwarf cannons with a single Saber Tusk, so that's kind of what I'm hoping for on that side. Now here on this side, I didn't get so lucky. He decided to go ahead and throw his copter into my Saber Tusk, which again isn't necessarily terrible. The Saber Tusk is going to die pretty casually, but it also means that these copters are not flying in the middle of things and deflecting my big units that are going to be coming for him. So I still think that's kind of a win for me, or at very least it's a draw. Now over here what he's done is he's basically got his units matched up where he's got one double hand or two hand or great weapon unit and then a hand weapon and shield unit. So he's moved his hand weapon and shield units up. to essentially take the charges so he can countercharge with his great weapon units. And that's not a bad idea, and particularly at the range I'm at now, I need 9s to hit either of those units, so not too bad. Now, what you're seeing here is his first cannon of the turn falls short into hitting my Iron Guts, so it only hits the first one, and then he fails to wound it. So he's giving it the finger just to show his unending love and admiration for the start of his turn, which I gotta say, I'm used to his shit just blowing me up. And just to make sure it's not a lost cause, the second cannon decides to pick up where the other one left off, blows through the corner of the Iron Gut unit, and pretty casually takes 2 of them out. So I figure that's not too bad. I could have been taking that kind of damage from both, but I need to get these ogres into combat as soon as possible to stop from taking any more of the pain, because he's got a lot of really strong shooting, and I don't want any part of it. Over here, the organ gun goes off on my man-eaters, and he rolls terribly and only kills one of them and puts a wound on a second. So, again, very, very fortunate when it comes to his shooting this turn, because I really think he's got a good shooting army, and he could really do me a lot of damage if I let him. So, over here, both of us fluff. I don't do any wounds to him. He doesn't do any wounds to me. But obviously I break because I'm leadership 4 and he has a charge on me. So I turn and run, but he decides not to pursue and turns to face the side of my ogres. So we go into Ogre turn 2, and I want you guys to take a look at this. I needed 9s on each of these units to rush in and hit those guys that he had moved out just an inch. And I rolled 9s with the Ogre unit, 9 with the Iron Gut unit, and I rolled a 10 with the Man-Eater unit, so I got Ogre charge there. And I am super happy about this, but frankly, I had no real right to expect this, as the dice are beating my opponent this time. I do fail to rally the Saber-Tusk, and he runs up over the wall of the building. We're not treating this little part as being part of the building, so just cinematically, he's running up the stairs and jumping in a desperate attempt to escape the freaking dwarf helicopter. Then over here, as you can see, I do sneak the Saber-Tusk past the gyrocopter, so I'm up there into War Machine Hill at this point, and the Lead Belchers have moved up, so I'm within short range of his Thunderers. So really, the movement phase of this turn 2 could not have gone better for me, as everything is pretty much positioned where I want it, with the possible exception of the one fleeing Saber-Tusk. And then here on top of that, I end up getting the +1 toughness buff off on the Ogre Bull unit with my Slaughtermaster in there. I tried to get the strength buff off on them too, but he did end up stopping that. During shooting, all I was able to do is thin down the Thunderers a little bit, so in close combat, I really kind of whiffed with the Man-Eaters here. I killed several of the dwarves here, but he was rolling parry saves like a boss. Killed a few back. I won the combat, he didn't break, and I reformed like this so I can make sure to catch the corner of his organ gun if I break them and end up pursuing. But in a much better result, I just absolutely destroy this Ironbreaker brick. By the end of it, the only thing that's left is Belegar, his BSB, and one, I think it's the champion from the Ironbreaker unit. They were just absolutely demolished. And all I took, I think Belegar and my Slaughtermaster are tied up in a challenge right now, but all I took was 1 wound on one of the Iron Guts. So again, that was awesome, but he's stubborn and didn't break. So I end up reforming like you see here so that I'm wide. I know he's going to bring those other units in, so I want to make sure that I'm getting as many attacks as possible when he comes in, and make sure that that Great Weapon Warrior unit on the left is going to be in the front. I am presenting a flank to the Thunderers, but at the end of the day, they're just Thunderers, and I can accept that. And so going into Dwarf turn 2, that's exactly what he does. He brings in both of the great weapon units, the Hammerers and the Longbeards into the front, brings the Thunderers into the side, and I've still got, the nice thing is that one unit still has a +1 toughness, so they're toughness 5. I'm just hoping to hold out because I need to do major damage and get some other units in here before I really feel comfortable with it. And over here, you can see my ogres are basically going around the maw pit to go get his gun and his engineer. But he flies the gyrocopter over, does its once per game bomb, and inflicts a single wound on my unit, and that was it. And over here you see he's basically just put his gyrocopter in front of my saber tusk to slow it down from getting into his cannons. I think he's going to try and fire breath it too, or whatever the steam cannon thing is, hopefully trying to take it out. But the one thing I noticed here is with the charge, I do have a rear charge now on his Thunderers with my lead belchers, so that's some support I'm definitely going to have to bring in there. And over here, I don't know why I'm showing this. Did I do some damage? I may have... Oh, yeah, okay. I hit him with a fireball and did another point of damage on his... Or no, I didn't. I don't know why I'm showing this, but there it is. Because this is his turn. I have no idea why this picture is up here. Maybe it's out of order for something. But at any rate, he goes, cannon shoots into the lead belchers, kills one, and inflicts a wound on a second. And then he realizes with the way he parked his gyrocopter, he doesn't really have a good line of sight on anything, so he decides to use the other one to grape shot the saber tusk and blows it to Kingdom Come, which is no huge surprise to anyone. So then we go into close combat, and my man-eaters finally finish off the hand weapon and shield warriors that he's got there, and I've turned to face the flank of the hammers, and this was kind of a gamble. I wasn't sure whether I wanted to go for the easy points of the organ gun since it's my turn next, or hope that my iron guts can hold out against the hammers and then I can bring them into support, and ultimately that's what I decided to do. So my iron guts, I think this is the iron guts, or no, this is Chog on Belagar. Chog throws into Belagar, gets 3 wounds, and Belagar only has a 6-up armor save against them, and as you can see, he rolled 3 6s and keeps his general alive, which I'm super frustrated with, but at least they're holding each other up. Then after that, I mean, as you can see, I've got a lot of damage done to me. Chog and Belagar are still holding in their challenge, and I'm just doing massive amounts of wounds to the great weapon troops. They're just getting chewed up, and he's just not... I mean, we're both kind of rolling badly, but he's rolling badly on his armor saves. I'm rolling badly on the attacks, which I still think puts the benefit to me. Nobody breaks, but I do win these combats. Then we go into Ogre turn 3, and I bring the Man-Eaters into the flank of the one side and the Lead Belchers into the rear of the Thunderers, and this is literally like 80% of both of our armies in this one giant fight in the middle, and I think we both realize that nothing else on the board at this point matters. Whoever wins this, whoever gets through that first crack is basically going to take this game. I do get lucky and get... he stops my strength buff. I didn't have Troll Guts this game, so that's why I haven't been casting it. But I did get... And he stopped my Stubborn. But I did get the toughness buff back up on the Ogres. And that healed the 1 wound that Belagar had done to Chog. So Chog's still back... Or my Slaughtermaster, I'm sorry. This isn't narrative. But he's back to full. And over here during the magic phase, I get another fireball off on his engineer and finish him off and claim those points. And then as you see here, after the combat, the world broke. I basically just beat him so bad. I killed the hammerers to a man, which means he wasn't stubborn anymore, and everything broke. My lead belchers did run down his thunderers. I didn't quite catch the great weapon warriors, but everything is just screwed. But it turns out I didn't need to catch the great weapon warriors because dwarf turn 3, they run off the table. Um, he needed a 9 or a 10 to rally him, something stupid like that, and rolled an 11, and his BSB's dead at this point because he broke during the combat as well and died. So, yeah, at this point, all he's got is assorted other bits. So, he decides to move his gyrocopter over here, hoping to do some flame damage and collect points. At this point, my opponent's only real drive here is to get as many points as he can, because we are practicing for Brawler Bash, so it's one of those things you can't ever really give up, because it doesn't really matter whether you lose the game or win the game, it's how many points you can walk away from it with. And so here, Cannon Fire manages to hit the Iron Guts and my BSB. So he kills one Iron Gut, puts a wound, or he kills one Iron Gut, and my BSB does like 5 wounds to him. I don't remember if that wound that's still on the unit was there beforehand. It probably was. So, but either way, that's like basically 315 points he gets for taking out the BSB. So that's good. And then the second cannon tries for my general, ends up bouncing low, hitting my Slaughtermaster on the head, kills him, then bounces into the Iron Guts and kills one more of them. So he's gotten more from those 2 shots in terms of points than he has in the rest of the game combined at this point. And now it's just a matter of me, on my turn, starting to clean up before he shoots me to death. So... over here, it's my turn. I end up charging the Man-Eaters into his Rune Lord on the Anvil of Doom. I take my general out of the one man left Iron Gut and hide him to get heavy cover from the organ gun, and I think I may have failed a charge with those other ogres against the organ gun. That might be why they're there. Over here, my lead belchers rally and turn around to look at things. The remainder of the ogres without the Slaughtermaster charge into his one cannon and position themselves for an overrun into the second when they kill that. And that one lone Iron Gut is moving towards his gyrocopter. I'm either going to make him move it or lose it at this point. And just to add insult to injury at this point, my saber tusk that he had chased off like turn 1 rallies with like 4 inches to spare from the edge of the board. So he doesn't even get the points for that. So close combat, obviously my ogres, I think they kill the first cannon on impact hits, overrun, and hit the second one pretty much as expected. Then here, the Man-Eaters absolutely slaughter his Rune Lord on the Anvil of Doom, and they reform to face the organ gun, which is literally the only thing left alive on this side of the board. Oh, I know what happened. He moved his his other gyrocopter in front of my ogres, and that's what they charged this turn, so I'm going to end up killing that too. Yep, and here is the picture of them killing that gyrocopter and turn, so I've got 2 units staring down that organ gun. So it's going to get basically one more chance to claim some points before it just gets absolutely destroyed. And so his organ gun basically failed to do anything. He did move his gyrocopter away just to kind of preserve the points. It's sort of the middle of the board now. But we go into combat, and of course the ogres against the cannon, that's really no contest. The ogres go ahead and finish that off and reform towards the center of the board. At this point, the only thing left is the organ gun. And so on my turn 4, I think this might be 5, my turn 5, I charge the Man-Eaters into the organ gun. Organ gun dies on impact hits. And then the only thing left is the gyro, which I had charged with my general, who makes very short work with his 5 strength 7 attacks against the gyrocopter, and that results in my opponent being tabled. And so this is what our board looks like at the end. An awful lot of ogres and not very much dwarves, or more to the point, no dwarves. So it is a victory for the ogre kingdoms. I ended up getting max points. We were also doing the blood and glory scenario, so I got an extra 1,000 points for breaking him. Ended up being, I got 4,300 points, something like that, and my opponent got 735, I believe is what his total was. So all in all, I'm pretty happy with my list. I'm going to play around with a couple of other things. I'd like to get more of the tools. I think my man-eater unit is a little too big, so I might reduce that down to give me some extra points. I kind of like the idea of having multiple bodies with like one character in each brick rather than doing a big gut star. So we'll kind of see how that works in the long run. I may end up going with that kind of design because it was definitely effective if I can focus that fire on the weak areas of my opponent. Um, as far as Michael's thoughts, I think he's, as much as he loves the idea of bringing the Anvil of Doom, I think he realizes that it's a fool's hope at this point. As it's not very good, he was just thinking of bringing it for fluff, and I think he may be getting his teeth kicked in too hard to want to deal with that. Um, but I think what we're gonna do from here on, because we've been throwing our two brawlers armies against each other, and I think it really limits what we can learn. So I think what we're gonna try from here on in is each like take their brawler's army and the other one take something different to kind of represent something else we might see. I'm hoping if we can do that, we'll get a little bit better idea of what we can handle, because I know with me playing against the dwarves, I'm just not going to understand how this army reacts to magic. Him playing against the ogres, he's not going to get any understanding of anything other than a blitzkrieg army. But I definitely think what beat him here is the fact that those 3 charges I rolled at top of turn 2 really should not have happened. I think if I had failed either one of the units that went into his iron breakers, if they had gone in alone, they would have been in a lot of trouble. And it was me taking a gamble, and the gamble paid off. And once I was in there, I did enough damage early on to basically make the iron breakers not a threat anymore. And once that happened, he just he was on the back foot and he was kind of pedaling, and he hit me with the great weapon troops, and they just did not do enough. I love actually having the ogres, like the ogre bulls there, because yeah, they're only swinging initiative 2, but that's still before most great weapon troops except for the elves. Um, so I was able to chew a lot of those guys up, so I wasn't taking the hits. And I mean, the toughness buffs at the right time, it just, everything kind of came together and really worked out well for me. So all in all, next battle I think we'll switch it up and play something different for the next practice game, but we'll see. As far as what the next battle report is going to be this coming week, we do have a Triumph and Treachery game. It'll be my first time trying to report on one of those. And it will be a narrative game, so we'll be back to that. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you have any comments, please leave them below. Like and subscribe if you have not already done so, and we will see you next time. Thanks a lot.